Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, the list below represents the points scored in 5 games by the school's basketball team. What is the mean absolute deviation for this data? Okay, so what are they asking us to do? Well, they want for us to find the mean absolute deviation for the data, right? But I'm pretty sure you're asking yourself, how do I find that? Okay, so you guys know what mean it is, right? Mean is the average. If you guys remember that from a little bit before, this is average. And how do you find average for anything? Do you remember? Average is when you add up all the numbers, right? And then the sum will be divided by the number of items on your data, right? So let's go ahead and use that to start, okay? So we're gonna have 3 steps, and this is gonna be my step 1. So if you want to write it down, go ahead and write it down, but this is gonna be my step 1, okay? And like I said, we're gonna have 3 steps. So if you wanna pause the video so you can write down, go for it, okay? So this is my step 1. Step 1 says that I need to find the mean, okay? And we agreed a few minutes ago that mean means the average, right? So what I need to do is I am gonna add up my numbers from the data. Okay, so we're gonna write down all of those numbers. Notice how 42 repeats. It's okay, you need to write it down because it is another one of your numbers, right? And I'm gonna divide all of these by what number? Well, count the numbers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm gonna divide it by 5. Okay, so if you add up all the numbers and then you divide by 5, you will get 181, and then you need to divide it by 5. Is that right? 181 is the sum, and you still need to divide by 5. And when you do that, you will get 36.2. And this is your average. Now, that's not it. That's only the average of your data, right? So what we're gonna do next is I wanna know how far away is each one of those numbers from 36.2. For example, I'm gonna look at 42 and I wanna know how far away. Let's suppose I put them in the number line, right? I wanna know how far it's 36.2 from 42, or how far away is 42 from 36.2? It doesn't matter, remember, because we're talking about distance, right? I just want to know how many units is from one number to my 42, okay? So I'm going to use 36.2, okay, as the number that I will be subtracting from each of one of these numbers, okay? So that will be my step 2, okay? So if you want to pause the video and while you guys copy this down, because this might take a little bit more time, okay? This one is my step 2. Okay, so are we ready for step 2? Notice how every single one of the numbers that I'm going to subtract, they have these lines. Do you see these lines right here? Those lines, if you recall, it means absolute value, okay? And the reason for that is because let's suppose that when I subtract my numbers, I get a negative number. My answer would not be negative because I'm just looking for distance, right? And remember, distance cannot be negative, okay? So that's the reason why we use those absolute value symbols, okay? So look at my first number is 42. Is that right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to subtract 42 minus the number that I found right here. Okay? So I am going to subtract 42 minus 36.2. Okay? And we get 5.8, right? And you write it down right there. Okay? Now we're going to do the next one. Now I'm going to go to 34 and I'm choosing the numbers from up here, guys, right? So my second number is 34 minus 36.2. And like I said, if you want to pause the video so that you can write down this little table, that might really help you out, okay? So we have 34 minus 36.2. Now, that will be a negative number. Is that right? But again, my answers cannot be negative because I'm using the absolute value symbol. Therefore, this will be just 2.2. So when you subtract, you get negative 2.2, right? But since I have the absolute value symbols, it becomes a 2.2. Okay? Next one, 42 minus 36.2. So every number from my data, right? Every number, I am going to be subtracting 36.2 from those numbers. Okay? And this one will be 5.8 since it's just like the one on the top. The next one is 29 minus, again, 36.2, right? And of course, that will be a negative number, but we do not use negative numbers. Therefore, it's just a 7.2. Maybe when you subtract that, it gives you a negative number, but we just write that 7.2. The next one is going to be the same thing. Take away 36.2, right? Which I already have up there, and that gives me a 2.2. And that's my step 2, okay? So what am I going to do next? Because that's not it, right? No. We have one more step, and it's right here. Step 3. What am I going to do for step 3? Step 3, I'm going to do pretty much the same step than step 1. The only difference is that I am going to use the data from step 2 because it says find the mean from step 2. So what does that mean? Well, I am going to need to add up all the numbers that are here. You see those numbers? Okay, I'm going to add them up. So I'm going to say 5.8. Oh, let me choose a different color because that's green. It's not going to show, right? Okay, so we're going to say 5.8 plus 2.2 plus 5.8 again. That's okay. We need it. Plus 7.2 plus 2.2. And all of that will be divided by 5 because I still have 5 numbers in here, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Add them up and see what you guys get. Okay, so when you add the numbers, we have 23.2, and then I need to still divide by 5, right? Okay, and when I divide by 5, I get 4.64. And guess what? Now that's my answer, okay? And I do see letter D for that one. So quite a few steps. A lot of people say it's a lot of work, but come on, it's just steps that you have to do. But it's very much simple, right, guys? So just remember you have step 1, 2, and 3. Very good.